All right, it is 7:05, so let's go ahead and start our presentation. I'm going to go and share my screen with you guys. So start share. Here we go. All right, so I am Denise Ambrosco-Meda. I am the owner of Travel Brilliant. We are a full service travel agency based right here in Western New York. I have been working in travel for 6 years and we started our agency in 2020. So we have seen a huge uptick in travel, a huge uptick in travel requests. And we have plenty of travelers traveling already this summer. They started in the spring. So travel is definitely back. It's been huge, actually. So if you guys are thinking about traveling into even the end of this year and into 2022, please consider reaching out to us because those venues are booking up very quickly. Everything from our cruises to our all-inclusives, everything is really booking very quickly. Everybody is ready to get back out there and travel. So we are a full service travel agency, and we do also have a whole slew of travel focused on LGBTQ plus travelers. So some of our services, as you can see here, we do have some LGBTQ plus exclusive journeys. That is just a few of our offerings. We have P-Town this summer. We have an Iceland cruise. We have a New Orleans, Mississippi River cruise. We have a Southern Caribbean cruise. There's a Seychelles cruise. There's also a resort stay in Mexico. And when we say LGBTQ plus exclusive, these are buyouts. So the resort, the cruise, whatever it is, the hotels, they've been bought out completely. And all of our guests are LGBTQ plus travelers. We also do destination weddings. We do same-sex destination weddings. We work with some wonderful vendors. For example, Mexico is a really fantastic vendor for us to partner with when it comes to LGBTQ plus or same-sex weddings. We also do custom travel itineraries. So you may not want to go with a group. You may have a different idea. Many of our family travelers do custom itineraries. So we can definitely work on that for you and put together the perfect trip for you, your friends, and your family. So let's talk about some LGBT travel destinations and what the world looks like right now. So this is going to be a really sort of high level overview. As you can see here, we have this map that the ILGA has put out. So this map is color coded. So the darker blue are going to be your most LGBTQ plus friendly countries. And then your very dark reds are going to be the ones that we are going to want to avoid because these are the ones that not only criminalize same-sex relationships, but there's also a death penalty. So there's a wide range of places that you can travel. Obviously, we want to try to go to places that are the most friendly, that are the most welcoming. And we do have a lot of really great relationships. You'll see some people might be surprised that Mexico is top of the list. Bolivia, Sweden, Portugal, South Africa, Nepal are all very, very friendly. And then you can see varying degrees of the blue shades from there. So some things to consider when you are traveling is the policies and the public acceptance of LGBTQ plus people. They're going to vary widely from country to country, and they're also going to vary widely within countries. So even within the US, we know that there's some places that are more LGBTQ plus friendly than others. So it's definitely something that we always are keeping an eye out for and making sure that we have the best information. We do that with several partners because we're not an island. We need to do this together. So we do partner with several other organizations that help us keep track of places that are friendly to our travelers. So we're going to take sort of a dive into the logistics of travel. And then we'll circle back to some of those destinations that we saw in that big global map. So I think one of the things that we really need to consider is how we choose our destinations logistically. Okay, so one of the easiest ways is to see which countries have legalized same-sex marriage. This is going to give us a pretty good indicator about how, in general, progressive that country is. So as you guys can see from this slide, we do have, at the time of this presentation, 29 countries that have recognized and legalized same-sex marriage. So these are the countries that we're going to consider our most LGBTQ plus friendly. And they're going to range. We have South America in there. We have the South Pacific. We have plenty of countries in Europe to explore. We do have South Africa in there, and some of our countries in Asia. Some people might be surprised that places like Taiwan are very LGBTQ plus friendly, as well as Bolivia. So there's definitely a lot of places out there globally that you can visit, that you can feel welcome, and that you can feel safe. So another thing to consider is that some travelers do request to travel to countries that do discriminate or do not have any protections, or are in fact places where being gay or being in a same-sex relationship is illegal. So that is a personal choice. So the first step in determining if you're comfortable with that is to know if you feel comfortable spending your dollars in a location that does not have protections set up for you. And ultimately, that's going to be a decision that's up to you. So some things to consider. And one of the travel questions that I ask any of my LGBTQ plus travelers to think about is how comfortable they are with the idea of passing. Are you comfortable, or do you want to be on your vacation and have to think about passing as straight or cisgendered? Are you comfortable closeting yourself on the road? Is being able to have public displays of affection important to you while you're on vacation? Are you traveling as a couple? So some of these things are going to determine whether or not you are comfortable going to countries that either lack protections or in fact criminalize same-sex relationships. So that being said, again, that's going to be a personal choice as to whether you want to visit a country, and we're going to have that conversation about which ones are the most welcoming and which ones you may need to take extra precautions or considerations to if you visit. So another thing to think about, logistically, it does get a little bit more complicated for our transgender, queer gender, and non-binary travelers. So one thing to think about is your airport situation. So you have the potential of facing a very uncomfortable situation at the airport. So what's really important for me to give to you are the tools to manage the airport TSA check-in situation. One thing that I'm always going to advise is that you give yourself extra time, because if you run into any troubles or problems in the process, you will want that extra time. The last thing you need is that added stress of being on a tight timetable to make your flight. So, but we also really need to consider, again, when traveling, not only are you going to feel safe, but will you be able to get proper medical care while you're abroad if something were to happen? And we're not necessarily talking about violence or anything like that, but people travel, they sprain ankles, they chip a tooth, they need to go to the hospital, they have a stomach issue. Things happen during travel. So that's why another reason we always recommend travel insurance. So while you're traveling, not only do you have to think about what are the attitudes, what are your protections in that country, but also will you be able to get proper medical care while you're there? I have included this Traveling While Trans hashtag. You can follow that on Twitter and you'll get firsthand accounts of travelers who are transgendered and their experiences. So let's talk about preparing for travel as a transgender traveler. All right, so here's what you need to know about the Secure Flight Program, what it is, what it's for, and what it's not for. So these are really important things to know because you need to be prepared to advocate for yourself. So I will tell my transgender travelers, not only should you know this information, but you should go to the TSA website, you should screenshot it or print it out. Because in a stressful situation, you may not have Wi-Fi in the airport, you may be overwhelmed. If you're trying to pull up information on the website to be able to advocate for yourself, you're going to want it really handy. So I always tell my transgender travelers, my non-binary travelers, that they should have this information ready at hand in case they get a TSA officer who maybe doesn't know. I can tell you, as a woman who, is cisgendered, who presents as the gender that's on her identification, I've had TSA agents that are having a bad day. You never know when you're going to get somebody on a bad day or somebody who's having a power trip or whatever it is. So the more information that you can be ready to share and advocate on your behalf, the better position you will be in during this process. So let's talk about flight documents. So I do have this up here. If anybody wants these slides, I'm always happy to email them to you. So definitely let me know. But the biggest thing is that you need to understand that the Secure Flight Check program, they are not there to comment on your gender or to inquire about your gender. Okay. So what this does, the gender information on your forms helps to eliminate false matches. So Sharon Smith, there's probably a lot of Sharon Smiths. If one of those Sharon Smiths happens to be on a no-fly list, and so they use that as a way to kind of narrow down any kind of false matches that with people of similar names. Okay. So what you need to know about that is that the biggest thing is that the name on your identification needs to match 100% the name on your travel documents. Okay. So if you were born Sharon Smith, but now you are Samuel Smith, you need to look at your identification. Your identification, if it says Sharon Smith, even though that's your dead name, that's the name that you have to have on your boarding document. Okay. Because those two need to match, and that's for anybody. So make sure you think about that. Make sure you think about the identification that you have and that you are booking your travel in that name. What doesn't need to happen is that the gender you present physically at the airport does not need to match the gender on your identification. Okay. So if your dead name is Sharon Smith and your photo was when you were still presenting yourself as female, but now your name is Samuel Smith and you present as male, you can present as male. You don't have to try to go back. Okay. You can present as your true self, because your gender and presentation does not need to match the gender on your ID in photo or in name. Your TSA officer should not comment on this. Okay. Should, would, will are two different things. Again, be prepared to advocate for yourself. Another thing that you're going to want to consider is signing up or enrolling in the TSA pre-check program. Okay. What that will do is it will expedite your screening and reduce your wait times in the TSA line. So this is something that you can do and be pre-screened and have that attached to your travel documents. So that will save you time and hopefully save you some of the stress that could be involved with the logistics of traveling transgendered. Some other things to consider for my transgender clients is packing. Okay. If you have medications, if you have prosthetics, if you have medical accessories, all of those things should go in your carry-on luggage. Okay. The reason is, one, checked bags could potentially get lost. That could be a really big deal to you at your final destination if you do not have your medications, if you do not have your prosthetics, your medical accessories. Okay. The other thing is that If TSA finds something in a checked bag that they think is suspicious, they might just take that out of the bag and throw it away. So you do not want to lose any of those items if you need them at your final destination. So make sure all of that is in your checked baggage. Okay. So you may also want to advise the TSA screening agents that you have medically necessary items in your bag and you can request a private screening. Okay. So that reduces the extra time spent at the belt being pulled aside. You can eliminate that by just requesting that private screening up front. And it can also help reduce any embarrassment that you may feel if the TSA agents question you about items in your bag. Okay. So again, and it's really important to remember that gel-filled prosthetic items do not need to remain in that 3-ounce rule for a carry-on because they are deemed medically necessary. Okay. So it's very important that you guys, again, these kind of things, screenshot them, know what your rights are in case you do need to go in for extra screening so that you can advocate for yourself. Not every TSA agent is educated in everything that they need to know. Okay. The other thing that's important for our transgender friends is understanding knowing the airport security rules. Okay, so what's really important is that you understand that those big X-ray scanners are looking for anomalies. And a prosthetic, a binder, body contours, those all might register to the machine as an anomaly, which means you're going to then have to have extra screening. You have the choice of asking for a private screening or opting out of the advanced imaging technology. Be aware that if you opt out, what that means is that you will need to be patted down. Okay. So if you go through the advanced imaging technology and they find an anomaly, you're going to have to be patted down anyways. They're going to focus on the areas that alerted on the screen. If you opt out completely, you can ask for a private room. They should ask you, we're going to emphasize the word should. They should ask you what your preferred pronouns are. And they should ask you if you prefer a male or female agent do your screening. Okay. So you can opt out of the X-ray. You can ask for the private screening. You can tell them what your preferred pronouns are, and you can ask for a TSA agent that is either male or female to perform your pat down. We do advise that during this, you bring a witness. So I know it's a challenge if you are traveling alone. Be ready to record if you need to. But if you're traveling with a friend or colleague, you should be able to bring them in while this process is happening to be there with you. It could be uncomfortable. It could be triggering. So my best advice for all of my transgender, my non-binary travelers is to just know what to expect, know how you can advocate for yourself, and have the information at hand. When I go through stressful situations, sometimes I can't always put my thoughts together. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed. If you have the information at hand, whether it's a screenshot on your cell phone or printed out in a document, you will be able to access it easily. And again, you can always ask for somebody, ask for a manager, ask for a supervisor if you don't feel as if you're being heard. Okay. I will say, as frustrating as it can be, it is important to remain calm because the TSA agents can ruin your day. Should they? No. Can they? Yes. So try to remain calm, try to be prepared and have the information with you and understand your rights and what you can advocate for. All right. So that's some of the logistics about travel and security. So some things we want to jump into right now, we want to talk about our LGBTQ plus friendly destinations. So again, this is going to be a really high level overview of some of my favorite destinations. There are 2 on here that have a caveat. And again, this is going to be a personal choice. So when we look at Africa, there's two countries that our clients often ask for. You'll see South Africa there. South Africa is one of our dark blue countries. It is very LGBTQ plus friendly. So you have constitutional rights there. It's a very open-minded in terms of the legalization and the protections for LGBTQ plus travelers. So South Africa is 100% a yes on my list. There's not many other countries in Africa that hit the list. Morocco is a very popular LGBTQ plus travel destination, but we need to always advise our clients that same-sex relationships are still illegal, and it is an Islamic country. We do see in our major city centers like Marrakesh is much more liberal and open, where they seem to turn a blind eye, and there's some very LGBTQ plus friendly bars and restaurants there. Again, this is going to be a country that you're going to have to question whether you are comfortable with passing, with refraining from public displays of affection or outwards appearance. So that's important. That's the only one on my list where I have that caveat. Okay, everybody else is going to be in a much different situation, but Morocco still remains very popular for travelers. So that's why I keep it on the list. All right, so Asia and the Middle East, Hong Kong, India, Israel. India now is there's no it's illegal to discriminate against LGBTQ plus citizens. They do not recognize same-sex marriages yet, but they have come a long way since 2018 in changing at least the protections for our travelers. So that is the only other country that I have a little bit of a caveat for, is that it's all of those protections are relatively new. And then obviously we know we're sitting here in June of 2021. India has still has a lot of way to go when it comes to the COVID-19 response. So might not be on our list in the next year or so, but again, it is an option for our travelers. Israel is probably the friendliest, maybe the only really truly friendly country in the Middle East. We also have Japan, Taiwan, and Thailand. Taiwan is extremely LGBTQ friendly. It is definitely a place that I highly recommend for my travelers, and it's also a great destination for food. The night markets there and the street food scene is spectacular. So I definitely enthusiastically recommend Taiwan to my LGBTQ plus travelers. Australia and the South Pacific, we know the two big ones are going to be Australia and New Zealand. There are some islands that are not very friendly, but we do have other islands like French Polynesia where we can travel safely and are very welcoming to our travelers. All right, Central America and the Caribbean. The Caribbean's a little bit of a toss-up. Some islands are very accepting, some islands are not. But two that stand out, Costa Rica and Puerto Rico. We know that Puerto Rico is a territory of the US, so you can travel there without needing a passport. And then Costa Rica, one of my personal top 5 favorite places in the entire world. Absolutely stunning. I think everybody should visit Costa Rica at some point in their lives. Europe, we know we're going to have a lot of friendly locations in Europe. So again, we'll just go over some of them quickly. We have Belgium, England, France, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Portugal, Spain. Portugal is very, very friendly, and Sweden is as well, and the Netherlands. So any of those countries you can feel absolutely comfortable traveling to. We enthusiastically recommend travel to those countries, and you're going to have a fantastic time. North America, Canada, Mexico, United States. Guess which one of these three is considered the most LGBTQ plus friendly? It's Mexico. One of my favorite places in the world. I just got back from Mexico. Not only do they do stunning same-sex marriages, it's just a beautiful, welcoming country. So if you want to travel, you can get a ton of bang for your buck. I mean, your dollar goes really far. You can get stunning, gorgeous, all-inclusive resorts. You can do beautiful excursions to the Mayan ruins, visit the cenotes, do rainforest treks. Mexico is a beautiful country. Keep it at the top of your list. It's an easy getaway for us. Based here in Western New York, we've got JetBlue, Southwest, everybody's flying there. So definitely keep Mexico on your list. And then in South America, we have some countries that are very friendly. Argentina, Brazil, Colombia. Colombia is an up and coming country, especially some of my older travelers might remember days where Colombia was not a country we would consider visiting, but they have changed so significantly in the last 20 years. It's a beautiful country. Our dollars go very far, and I would enthusiastically send anybody there. I have some great destination management companies on the ground in Colombia that can take you throughout the country, and you can see some really amazing architecture, some beautiful jungles, the gorgeous ocean. So there's a lot to do in Colombia. We have Ecuador, Peru, and Uruguay. Uruguay is really progressive. And I think it's a country that a lot of people forget about, but it's a great country. We see our cowboys there on the beach. Definitely think about if you want to do something off of the beaten path, something a little bit unusual, Uruguay is a great option for that. So we're going to sort of start tying up our presentation here. I want to talk about LGBTQ family travel. So we see lots of options for tours, cruises, resorts that are really much more focused on our either singles or couples when it comes to LGBTQ plus travel. We do know now that we've had legalized marriage, legalized same-sex adoptions in the US. All of our, not all, but many of our LGBTQ plus clients are starting families, have families, are thinking about vacationing in a different way than they did when they were singles or couples. So we work with several vendors that I think do a beautiful job welcoming our LGBTQ plus families. So a few that you see here on the slides, I'm going to go through them. Universal Parks and Resorts. We have our parks in Orlando and our parks in Hollywood. They are very welcoming and accepting, and they're just a beautiful partner along with Disney destinations. So we all know Disney World and Disneyland, but don't forget we have Disney parks around the globe. We have Tokyo, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Paris. So again, when you're in the Disney bubble, you're in good hands. We also have Disney cruises. Disney cruises are a fantastic family vacation. And they really, like I said, they really do go above and beyond for their clients, all of their clients. And of course, our LGBTQ plus family travelers. They have a Hawaiian resort. Hawaii is one of my favorite places to travel. They have Aulani, which is their Hawaiian resort. And they also have Adventures by Disney. So if you and your family are looking to do guided travel, you can travel the world with Disney. And that Disney difference is really important because what that does is it gives you sort of a peace of mind because you know that you're part of that Disney bubble when you travel. But all of our Adventures by Disney's have 2 adventure guides. So they have a official Disney guide who's English speaking, and then they have a local guide. And they partner with you and are with you for your entire trip. This is in addition to any special activities that you may do as part of your tour. So if you are in Germany and you do pretzel making, you will have both of your guides plus your local baker who's teaching you how to make pretzels. Or if you're touring the Louvre, you're going to have your Louvre guide in addition to both of your Disney guides. So this is really great when it comes to safety as well. If anybody gets injured on a tour, you have a guide to stay with you. On many tours, if you do a guided tour situation, the tour guide needs to stay with the group. This also is really great because there's opportunities throughout the journey where the kids will have their activities and the adults will have separate activities that they can do. So while it is about traveling together as a family, you do have those moments because of those 2 guides that the group might split for a few hours to do different activities where the adults might go and do a beer tasting. The kids might be, again, making pretzels. So you do have that opportunity to have some adult time as well. So Universal Parks and Resorts, Disney destinations. And then of course we've got our cruise line. We've got Carnival Corporation. Carnival is just not Carnival Cruise Line. It also includes Cunard. Cunard is based on the White Star Line. So we're talking about harkening back to the days of transatlantic steam ship travel. That was the main way to get between Europe and New York. It's very luxurious. I hate to say the Titanic, but again, that's like that ship, the Queen Mary. Those are those sort of classic, luxurious transatlantic ships. Holland America and Princess are two fantastic lines. Both lines if you're going to do an Alaska cruise, they both offer really fantastic opportunities in Alaska. They also do have their own lodges in Denali, so you can do that cruise land option. And Seabourn is going to be our very, very high end, our ultra luxury cruise line. These are going to be very small ships. These are going to be cabins that are very plush, much larger than your standard cabin. Your guest to staff ratio is going to be, you're going to have like 5 guests to every staff, where on some of like your larger Carnival ships, it might be like, that's going to be very skewed, because on some of our ships, we might be traveling with several thousand of our closest friends. Charisma Hotels and Resorts. Charisma has many brands in their portfolio, but one of the brands that they manage is the Nickelodeon Hotels and Resorts. So obviously we know our kiddos love Nickelodeon. They have a resort in Punta Cana, and they have a resort opening in the Riviera Maya, Cancun, in just a few weeks. And both of these are fantastic resorts with lots of activities for the kids to do, from water parks to splash parks to sliming to kids clubs. They are also gourmet all-inclusive resorts, which means that the food is going to be fantastic. You are not going to get stuck eating chicken fingers and macaroni and cheese. While your kiddos might like that, you have the option to eat gourmet food. And one of the beautiful things is part of their gourmet all-inclusive experience when you travel with your children, things like changing tables, cribs, bottle warmers, bathrobes for the kiddos, the smaller bathtubs, like all of those little amenities that you stress about not having when you're on vacation, you don't have to pack, because they're going to have them for you. They're going to be able to puree baby food for you. So it's going to be a really fantastic experience when you travel with the Charisma brand. We have our Travel Corporation. So Travel Corporation is a huge umbrella. So if you've heard of Kontiki, Trafalgar Travel, Brendan Tours, African Tours, Luxury Gold, those are all guided experiences that fall under the Travel Corporation. And anywhere in the world that you want to go, they're going to have an experience, and they're going to range from what we would consider a normal group tour to our monograms, which are going to be smaller stays. They're going to be focused on a city like Paris or London. So you're going to stay in that city for 4 or 5 days. You're not going to get on a motor coach, and you're going to get a private concierge who's going to, so you're going to have tours included, but your concierge is going to be there to advise you and to support you on your trip. So again, depending on how you want to travel, the Travel Corporation has a way to do that and to fit your family's travel style. And then of course we have our Royal Caribbean group. Royal Caribbean includes obviously our Royal Caribbean Cruise Line and our Celebrity Cruise Line. So you have the opportunity to travel and have a welcoming experience with our Royal Caribbean partners. So again, this is just a small sampling of some of the vendors that we work with when it comes to LGBTQ plus family travel. So we are ready, prepared, and we have those relationships to make sure that your family, now that you have kids as part of your family, or your family is growing, we're going to make sure that you have a fantastic travel experience, vacation experience, because every family deserves a fantastic family vacation. So finally, we just wanted to touch on some resources that are available to you as LGBTQ plus travelers. Of course, at the high end, we're always going to refer to any information that we need to, and we're going to reference the travel.gov site. That's the US Department of State. They will have the most updated information on all of our destinations and any alerts that we need to know about for all of our travelers. We are also members of the IGLTA. which is the International Gay Lesbian Travel Association. So they put out fantastic travel guides. I reference their resources often. They have a fantastic wealth of information in terms of LGBTQ plus friendly vendors and owned companies in those destinations. So if you want to take a tour, we always recommend going with a vendor or a tour operator in country that is LGBTQ plus owned. And they're a valuable resource for us. We are thrilled to be a member of the IGLTA. And then, of course, us at Travel Brilliant. So we are always working and training and developing our portfolio so that we know that we have the best, most accurate information. If we don't know something, we do not guess. I will tell you, you know what? I don't know. If you come to me and say, I would like to go to Malta, my first response might be, you know what? I love it. Let me look into it for you. I'm going to find out what you need to know about traveling to Malta, whether it's you're alone, with your partner, with your friends, with your family, with your children. It's important to us that you have the best information possible to make the best travel decisions. So again, we here are your advocates at Travel Brilliant. We always want you to reach out to us if you have any questions, and we will use our resources to make sure that we have the best, most accurate, and up-to-date information. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm going to, okay, the screen has stopped sharing. So that's me, I'm Denise. If you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us here at Travel Brilliant. You can reach us at 716-417-7824. You can find our website. It's travelbrilliant.net. And you can always email us. My name's Denise. So you can email me directly if you have questions, denise@travelbrilliant.net. And if you're interested in getting any of these slides or more information about any of the stuff that I covered, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm happy to send that to you via email. And I thank you for your time and have a wonderful Pride, everyone.